Welcome to a guide to the SYNTRAC update new on FS19 with me, MrSealyp. Okay, so we have an update to the SYNTRAC mod. This is significant. I don't always do the updates, or I talk about the updates and I'll often tell people to go and look at the change logs, see what's happened in an update, unless it's something I think is fairly significant. That's my own personal choice, that's no other reason behind that. I've been using the SYNTRAC quite a bit on my Geiselsberg Let's Play at the moment, and what came out on the mods was an update including the new tank 2000 litre, which is in essence a front seed tank. It can mount on the back if you want to just transfer seed, that's fine. There are 3 of them in the pack, but what is significant about this as well, it comes with some changes as well. It says cargo transfer, seed, fertiliser and liquids, but it says supports all seeders with front tank capability, which is fine. It changes the 80 km/h version. It gives it a reversing speed of 25 km/h, which is quite crazy. But what it adds in is the DriveLaner. The DriveLaner mod that we had recently that came out, this tank, depending on which one you go for, gives you the controls to turn it into a DriveLaner. So while you're seeding, you can set your tyre rows ready for other vehicles coming in to fertilise and that kind of thing, spray, whatever it is you're going to do. Not everyone wants to use that, not everyone likes to use that, but I think that's fairly significant. So what we'll do first of all is have a quick look in store. We'll have a look at the options available and I'll show you these here, then we'll go down to the field and I'll show you what I mean. So you'll find these under planters. If we scroll across, we get to the 3 options. So you've got the new tank 2000 litre arcade. Now that says an additional tank to increase the capacity of your tools. That will take fertiliser and seed. It does say SYNTRAC cargo transfer. Now I've been looking around in the mods for that and I can't find, it's like a puzzle piece, but I can't see where it says any of that. But anyway, inevitably I'm going to miss something because there's a lot of stuff in this update and it's a little bit kind of complicated to get your head around, so bear with me. We can change the main colour to any of those, and then we can change the design colour. I mean, that looks a little bit much, doesn't it? We'll keep it on black or something, but so we can change those. Then we've got the option, now these are tucked under these little sections here. Let's go to one side. We can have a 50 kilogram weight, and it puts these little weights in just behind 150, 200, 250. So it puts these little weights under these step sections and then back off again. Now the standard version, the arcade version, has no other function. It's a seed tank and you can put the weights on. If we move over to the new tank Pro, it adds something on the end there and it says with dynamic weight and display controlled DriveLaner for static mounted seeder. Seems a little bit complicated and a little bit puzzling, but I'll show you what I mean in a moment. And then we've got that one there, the new tank 2000 SL Pro, which is another 1500 on top, but it adds a crane as well. So you've got a crane. If you want to go for a slightly more realistic loading option, you can actually lift up pallets and load them in yourself of seed or fertiliser, which I think is quite a cool addition. So what we'll do, we'll have a look at that first. That's the standard version, that's the arcade version. So it is in essence a 2000 litre seed tank, and you can add weights on the front to add a bit of weight to it. It has lights and stuff on as well. I've got the Pro version down on the field, but this is the Pro, the SL Pro. It's got the crane on the top, so we'll have a look at that first. Now what I have done as well, and the actual SYNTRAC itself, under miscellaneous, I can't remember if this option was available before. If we go down to, I think it's configuration. No, it wasn't configuration. What was it under? Cover. So we can have cover, and then it says cargo transfer. Oh, that may be that's what it means under cargo transfer. I did that automatically without thinking. So on the actual SYNTRAC itself, you need to choose the cargo transfer option, I think, which gives you that front end. Again, this is the tiny bit of speculation on this because it's a little bit complicated. So that's what I went for on this version. It's got the cargo transfer. I think does it change the stuff in here? So it can actually take it from the front tank to the rear tank. That's what it is, isn't it? That's what's different. So it actually takes it through the vehicle rather than pipes on the outside. Right, okay. Sorry, I know it seems like I'm kind of I'm learning on the fly. That's the one thing I hadn't worked out, and that seems to make sense. So what we'll do, we'll lower that down and hook up. If you haven't used SYNTRAC before, you have to lower the vehicle down to hook up to whatever you're hooking up to. Hook it up, and then raise the whole thing back up again. So that's the front tank. Now what we can do, he says, is go to the front tank. That's why it wasn't actually. We can raise and lower the cover. In raising and lowering the cover, we raise and lower the crane on the top as well. Now what we also can do is we can bring that crane in and out. Hang on a second. With R1 up and down, we can bring the crane in and out. So for picking up pallets and stuff. Now what you also notice, the difference between the other one over the other side and this one, this bit here, those things that the weight's going to come, well, they're steps for loading. I mean, it's an animation, you just bring it out, steps come out, you climb up and you can get to the front tank. Now that's just, you know, it's there for a bit of kind of show, because I suppose technically, unless you're loading single individual seed bags in one at a time by hand, you probably wouldn't use those. So what we'll do, we'll extend the crane arm out, like so. We'll go to a pallet. Now this does say fasten tension straps. So I've opened the help menu, help window. Now you can refill automatically. It does say refill additional tank. If I press L3, that will automatically refill from the pallet. So if you don't want to go for the realistic sort of feel to it, you don't have to. If I drop that down and then do R1, that will say fasten tension straps. So if I do that, I can now lift that pallet up. Now weirdly, and I don't know if this will need an update, the tension straps don't actually show, or they're not on my PlayStation. So if I lift that all the way up, like so, I can then bring the arm in, it says, and once it goes over the tank, that loads in. That's pretty cool, I like that. Something a bit different, isn't it? And then what I do is just close my lid down, like so, and we're good to get over to the field with our front seed tank on a seeder, and away we go. I think that's quite a cool, you know, that's a nice update and something a little bit different. And having the 3 different options, if you don't want to go down that route, you just buy the standard one. Just refill from a pallet as normal. You've got a 2,000 litre front tank. But if you want to be a little bit more realistic maybe and use the crane, you can do that. So what we're going to do now is whiz down to the field and we'll get onto the complicated bit. I'm sure I'm going to get something wrong here. So what I've got is the SYNTRAC with the cargo transfer option. I've got the Pro version, not the Pro with the crane, just the Pro version. And on the back is a standard in-game Vaderstad Rapid A600S. Okay, so that hasn't, it's not a modded one, it hasn't got anything different on it at all. So what we'll do, we'll get in here, start it up. I've opened up the seeder, it's all ready to go. I've got my front tank on. If we go inside, we've got that screen to the right hand side. Now if people aren't sure how to do this, I'm not doing this in editing. If you want to zoom in while you're in game, if you press the PlayStation button and square in rapid succession, you can zoom in, and then with your right stick you can move about. So you've got that screen there, and that says seed, and then it says DriveLaner. At the moment that's turned off. So I'll just come back out again, and we've got the help menu at the top. So if I press L1, it says unfold additional tank. So press X, that turns that on. That screen's now turned on. I'll zoom back in again. So you've got a few different options there, and the green thing says inactive. Nothing's turned on at the moment. But what we can do is adjust a few things here. I've got to try and remember if I get this right. Let me check the controls up here. So we've got R1, and then my right stick, left and right. It says open front loader tool. Now this is a weird one. It changes that number. There's a number 1 on there. If I go side to side, that increases that number. Now I haven't been able to work out exactly what that does. I thought that would widen or narrow the actual track it leaves, but I've adjusted that up and down and I can't seem to get that to make any difference on anything I'm doing. So I'm not too sure about that. I thought that's what they might be, but I don't know. L1 and R1, and then my right stick side to side opens and closes those green arrows, widens and narrows. That widens and narrows the track of the DriveLaner. So that'll widen and narrow it. I don't want it too wide, but I also don't want it too narrow, because otherwise the two drive laners merge together and you get one thick line down the middle. So that's a little bit of a tricky one. But then with my L1 and R1, if I go up and down, you see that green arrow on the side? That raises and lowers the drive laner. So if I have the green arrow right at the top there and you set the seeder off, it won't leave a drive lane. If I bring that all the way back down again, that will drop it down and that will leave a drive lane. So I've got that down the bottom, that should leave a drive lane. Now, if I use my left stick, so I'm still on L1, R1, my left stick, that adjusts that yellow arrow, and that is what that gives you the offset for the drive laner. So you want it central if you want a central drive lane. If you want to twist it to one side or other, you kind of swing it either way, so you can adjust the offset. Now the problem is, because I can't zoom in and do it at the same time, it's hard to see. I think that's going to be set alright. As far as I'm aware, that's set okay. Now, if I come back out of those, it's still saying inactive. I can't do anything with that at the moment. If I press L1, it says lower pickup. If I press lower pickup, that will then turn red and say active. Like that. So that now says active. So in theory, with all those things set as they are, the two green arrows are at the width potentially I want. That's going to be a bit of fiddling around with. The green arrow on the left hand side is on the down position, so the drive laner should be dropped. Again, in theory. We'll come back out. I hope this works. And we'll set a worker off, and we should... There we go. It's leaving the lane. Now my offset is obviously not quite right. Now that's a standard seeder. So that front tank with the drive laner attachment gives you a drive laner mod plus a front seed tank. And if you want to go down this route, especially with the SYNTRAC, you've got all the... I mean, the SYNTRAC mod itself is phenomenal. That screen there with all those adjustments and all the things you can do. Now obviously I might need to adjust the track, the width. If I go a little bit narrower on the width, I've got to be careful, but... And then go again, you can see it will bring it in a little bit. So we've got a slightly tighter line there. If you bring it in too much, the lines are way too narrow. Stop it again. Go back in. If I widen them right out, I don't want to go too far because I think it'll take it right off the edge and you can't even see them. No, it's not too bad. So you can adjust the width. Now the actual thickness of those, not the width but the thickness of them, I thought was what was adjusted by changing that number. So if I press R1 and change that number up or down, I thought the lower the number, the narrower the track would be, or the time up would be. But it doesn't seem to make any difference. So I put that all up to 9, and it goes back to 0. Just put it on 9 and try that. I think I might narrow my track a little bit again. Hang on a second. Just bring that in a little bit. Come back out. It doesn't seem to make any difference. Or maybe that is a little bit narrower, possibly. One seems thick, one seems thin. But anyway, that's the drive laner. I mean, it's quite impressive what it does. So what I want to do now, if I want to turn that off, I go back to L1, lift pickup. Now one thing you have to be very careful of is make sure, using the triangle button, that you're selected the right tool. Because if I'm on the vehicle and press L1, it doesn't give me any options then to turn that, make it active or inactive. Or if I'm on the back 3-point link or I'm on the seeder, I need to be on that front tank. So on the front tank, I now press L1, it says lift pickup. That makes it inactive, which means it's turned it off. It won't leave a drive lane anyway. If I now press fold additional tank, it turns the screen off, so it renders it. It just then becomes the front tank. So the good thing about this mod as well is, or the update to this mod, is you can have it on, you can seed as normal if you want to, you can just use it as a front tank. If you want to turn the drive laner on, you can. If you want to adjust the drive laner, you can, but you don't have to. And if you don't want any of that functionality at all, just pick the arcade version, which is a little bit cheaper, and you just get it as a front seat tank. I think I think I've covered all the bits on there. I hope so. I just thought it was worth having a look at. So there you go. That's the update to the SYNTRAC with the new tank 2000 litre with drive laner ability. I hope you found this useful and informative in some way, shape or form. If you have, give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free, and if you want to share this video, then please be my guest, whatever you should choose to do. Thanks for watching.